we're back with Forum Daily's Energy Update. Joining us now with his outlook is Dan McTeague, the president of Canadians for Affordable Energy.
Well, thanks for that, Nima. And I guess, as we said last week, told you so. It looks like this is really where gasoline prices, energy prices have bottomed out. That doesn't mean that they're going to go up, spectacularly, at least as far as the market is concerned, because there's still a lot of nervousness. But markets are overlooking this serious elephant in the room, and that's spare capacity. There just isn't enough supply, and as demand starts to rise or continue to accelerate, the focus on supply is going to have to continue to be the major concern for all analysts and for all trade bettors, because the price at which energy is being traded is still at a substantial discount, reflective of what the fundamentals are. I won't go too far into that, but to suggest, of course, tomorrow, April the 1st, April Fool's Day, and just 2 weeks before we convert from winter to summer blends of gasoline, gas prices across Canada will increase to an average carbon tax increase of 16 cents per every liter. In other words, we're going up at least 3.26 cents a liter in almost every province, except, of course, Quebec, which gets a pass from the federal government, even though they're only 9 cents for their cap and trade equivalent of the carbon tax. Other factors they use in the same way they derive equalization, such as subsidies for hydro, are one of the main reasons why they tend to and will continue to get a significant advantage over the rest other provinces that are forced to knuckle under the federal carbon tax increase. And I should point out that it comes a day after the parliamentary budget officer, Yves Giroux, has once again reaffirmed the fact that those trendy bribes we call rebates for 60% of people will be a net loss. So get that clear. You are going to be paying a carbon tax for which the idea that you're getting more than you're paying, which of course is illogical. But that aside, the parliamentary budget officer now has, for a second time in the second year, now confirmed that that is an absolute fabrication by the federal Liberals, Stéphane Guilbeault, the Minister of Environment, Jonathan Wilkinson, Minister of Natural Resources. All of these folks that have been pushing this fantasy, this fraud, are now, of course, leaving you and I with a lot less money in our pocket, while at the same time contributing in no small way to the undermining of the Canadian dollar, the loonie, which is adding about 25 cents a liter. But I digress. April 1st, every province, New Brunswick, Ontario, every Western Canadian province, so Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and BC, will see an increase, a net increase of 3.26 cents a liter, plus HST or GST. In the case of New Brunswick, it's 15%. In the case of Ontario, 13%. And of course, for the Western provinces, it's 5%. What that means is the carbon tax on gasoline alone works out to about 15.2 cents a liter for GST provinces. For HST provinces, like where I live in Ontario, it works out to about 16 cents a liter, 16.1 or 16.2 cents a liter, and New Brunswick, 16.4 cents a liter. So all in all, not a happy circumstance. And when you look at those numbers are much higher than the rate of inflation. If you consider average prices in Canada about $1.47, and we're looking at a 16-cent carbon tax, that works out to about, in my calculation, 12% inflationary hit, which is totally unnecessary, as well know, will not change the weather, much less drop Canadian emissions. That aside, Nima, let's look for any price increases across the country everywhere with both the markets and the effect of this carbon tax. I would say right across the board, an average increase of about 5 cents a liter doesn't really matter where you are in Canada. By this time next week, we'll be up 5 cents a liter, and the news gets much better because between the 10th and the 15th of April, we switch from winter to summer gasoline. That's a thing. It costs a lot more to produce summer blends of gasoline so that they don't go into the atmosphere and they don't do awful things to the emission system on your vehicle. So we could be looking at a scenario where between now and then, gas prices on average increase about 15 cents a liter. The new average would be about $1.62 from coast to coast. So fasten your seatbelts. And if that weren't enough, July 1st, the second carbon tax comes in, which we've talked about before, the clean fuel standard. Look for your mileage to drop substantially as they add more ethanol in all gasoline. Doesn't matter where you're buying it. Some people think it's an advantage to get premium. You will now have ethanol, which gives you lousy mileage, and goodness knows what it does to little two-stroke engines. So at the end of the day, Canada, a country in which it's going to be far more expensive to continue to survive. Affordability is out the window because NDP, Liberal and Green politicians want it so.
All right, that was Dan McTeague, the president of Canadians for Affordable Energy. All right, we'll be right back after the break, so stay tuned to Forum Daily. A look at the crypto sector with Bobby Del Rio from Daily Drop is coming up next, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.